Welcome to the SE Robust meeting. So in today's meeting agenda, so I don't see any questions or posted. So anybody in the meeting have any questions?
No.
Cool. Then let's look at the Pro dashboard. So it's been pretty flaky recently. I've digged around. So there are basically 3 different failures we're seeing recently for the Pro robustness test. First one is linearization timeout, which should be fixed by FICA's PR, so we can reduce the client count, and hopefully this will reduce the flakiness. And then the second one is like this message, no non-empty database at start or first write didn't succeed. So if you dig into this failure, you can see that in the end the validation failed because it cannot find the empty database at start. So this is not very useful message. I don't know why. So go to the parent. So you can see the actual failure is fail to trigger fail point, which is the timeout of the context for rough before save. So we have a open issue regarding that. So reduce concurrency. Yeah. So for like this one is very flaky recently for I don't know unknown reason. Anybody know why it's being more flaky recently than before?
I'm not sure, but I will try to look into it. I hope this is not related to the change I did on the Go fail, but I shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it should not.
The recent change to the fail point is that we make the locking more. Uh, it's actually not supposed to block because we actually on the Go fail part, the change we made is make the locking only happen when we are executing or really trying to change the map. It used to block the whole time since you call it until it returns. So yeah, this is a bit odd to me, but since we recently did change something on Go fail, so I'll look into it and see
Okay.
if that's related. Yeah, hopefully not, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Please take a look. We can always try to increase the timeout or maybe add some retries. I mean, we had retries of fail point before, but it doesn't really reliably reduce flakiness. So maybe we can retry that. Yeah. And then the last one is about this progress notify. Does not match. So into this one. There's not really much useful error message. Yeah, if you search for the code,
I think there is a progress notify validation after running some validation in the main run test of robustness test.
Uh,
Recently, I think it is in the watch.go file. I'm not
yes.
sure, but
So let me share the screen. So in this watch.go, if we expect to see progress notify and we did not see any progress notify in the reports, in the watch reports, then it will error out. But the question is, when do we actually set the progress notify?
I think it's set on a config. There is a config for that.
Yeah, watch request progress. So like right now
Can you
it's
see
in
the scenarios? Maybe it's defined on the scenarios. I'm not sure. I'm trying to help. I'm sorry to interrupt.
in the watch config. There's a request progress, and it's only true for this issue. It should not be there set for the exploratory scenarios. So I don't know where it's coming from. So I only see request progress uh, in one place. Yeah, there's no other scenarios requesting the progress. Require leader. Oh, Kubernetes. Yeah. Okay. Request. So I guess it does require. Yeah. Can you actually see my window code? So in Kubernetes scenarios, it does request for progress notify, but I didn't get any. That's progress. Anybody have any idea? I don't see the request progress like actually being used.
So I do notice one thing over here when the function that's sort of validating all of this, it's called validate got at least one progress notify,
Mm-hmm.
and the expected boolean that we're passing is an or of two variables over there. So maybe something over there um, isn't matching what it should.
The other component of the boolean is the progress notify interval, which is like 0 by default, which doesn't turn on progress notify. So the request comes from the watch request. Okay.
Mark just dropped something to the chat.
Okay. Cool. Okay, yeah, I can see that. I've just found it. It's in the Kubernetes traffic watch request. It explicitly sets the request to require progress notify. But we did not get any. So if you look into the data of this failed test, so going to the results and look for client watch. Yeah, there's no progress notify return. It's just in the request. Okay. So Mark just said lack of progress notified can happen in some cases. So this particular failure is for sleep before send watch response. So maybe that can be expected. But how do we distinguish between cases that it doesn't guarantee or cases it should guarantee? Maybe we should open an issue for this one and
Yeah,
or-
open an issue sounds like a better idea because maybe you need some discussion on how this can be progressed.
yeah, okay. Let's do that. Seven two robustness AMP. Okay, these are the 3 failures I've seen, and then let's look at any new issues with the robustness testing. Reduce client. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any new issues related to robustness tests. Cool. Anything anybody want to bring up?
I had a question, like while we were thinking about the progress notify discussion, I saw that we are checking for the revision. So we first check if it is a progress notify response and the revision that we got back. But if I understand correctly, you get the revision that progress notify returns, if it returns one, is the revision from that local node, right? Because like watch is connected to a particular node. So that revision may be lower than what might actually be the highest revision. But the traffic that we're collecting and the reports that we're collecting, I'm assuming it could be from any node. So how are we being sure if it's like if those revisions are matching essentially? Like I don't think I'm not able to fully understand that logic.
Hi, I managed to get here. Sorry for being late. Yeah. If you have any question, please, I'm happy to help answer. I didn't got the context. Sorry.
I think Matt have discussed the general question about watch. So if watch is sent to any node, not just the leader, how do we match the progress notify between different clients in the test?
Why would we match them?
Yeah, I mean, we're just verifying. I think we're just verifying the watch sequence for that client. We're not comparing watch.
Verifying. Okay, what is this watch sequence? You mean watch sequence of revisions that observed by one of the clients on the watch?
Yeah, so I think between different clients, we're not comparing like.
So we only compare. We treat one watch stream as one sequence of like changes to some set of keys, and this is like not strongly consistent, eventually consistent and sequential, which means there's like within what's one stream there should be events and progress notifies, and they should be ordered. So there is no, you cannot compare progress notifies globally. You cannot compare watch globally. You can compare watches to each one watch stream to each other.
Right. But if I look at the validate got at least one progress notify function,
Yeah.
We are checking if response revision is equal to like something called last head revision, which we are updating every loop. So I was just confused about like how are we making comparison?
Validating progress notify just validates that we had one progress notify. We don't validate anything more.
Right,
so,
but would it not be the case that none of those revisions match because it like the report that we got back could have a higher revision than the progress notify.
You're asking about this specific check.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If there is a progress notify and the response is equal last head revision. Oh.
I mean, I think it's still comparing the same watch stream from the same clients.
Yes.
So it just for each watch response it gets, the revision keeps updating to the head as the head revision, and then the next progress notify should match that. It's not comparing like for each new report, this one gets reset to 1.
I don't know what the author of the code had in mind here. Like, so this, if I would translate this code, if I understand it correctly, it means that we are looking for a progress notify that had the same revision like the previous response. We are not looking for any progress notify. We are waiting for a progress notify on a stream that was not updated since the progress notify. Does it make sense? I can explain why. I remember now why. So we are looking for at least one sequence where for all watches, we are looking for one sequence where there was a response that had events, and then following response had, but that might not be correct way to implement this. And we are looking technically for a following event progress notify that had progress notify that didn't have any events between this. And this is because we had a bug in watch progress notifies that was causing a race on this particular case. So I think this is currently a little bit over restrictive, but the purpose of this this validation was to ensure that we are reproducing a particular case that we knew was broken at some time. So there were series of bugs in progress notify. One like either generated by etcd server, or second one that was requested, that caused that this particular sequence of there is a watch response and then progress notify with the same revision. The bug was that they could be randomly, there is a race in which one will go through first through channel, which meant it would result in they were racing. So it could result in situation that progress notify with the same revision could or progress notify could go before the response. So this validation is currently overfitting for the issue that we've seen historically. So I think it would be good if we, to consider if we either remove or relax this validation.
Yeah, we can. So we can test locally for this failure case. If we remove this restriction, would that test pass?
If you mean remove which restriction? We remove the
revision match?
Possibly. I don't like, you could take the report, download it locally, remove this valid and retry this validating this. And if you change the the code and validation pass, it would mean that it would have passed if we relaxed it.
Okay.
So I'm guessing the intent of the function itself is to make sure that there's at least one progress notify across watches.
Yeah, so now it does more, or it restricts that this progress notify needs to be specific progress notify that repeats the same
Okay.
revision from previous response, and that might be too restrictive.
Got it. Got it.
So, can you try, Xuan, to download the report and try to validate if this is our assumption is correct?
Then how do we run it?
You need to test. You need to have
Already
the file downloaded and copy the directory, file directory, into the robustness test data. You can copy both, like those both directories. Or if because they look, I assume they both, or I don't know what they failed on. Which one failed on the progress notifies?
I copied it under robustness report. No,
No,
Test.
it should be test data.
test data. Under
Under report. It's under report. I mean, just under, not the tree, but under the list. Yeah.
oh, okay, I see.
I mean, it's just an empty directory to reproduce this. And you should be now able to run. You should be able now to run from console. Just make test robustness reports. It's not in this file, or maybe it is. Okay. Okay. So we copied ds store directory. .ds store. Yeah, and the rest of them pass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think you could consider removing this. It was for a particular case. I would want to think, I mean, high level, we need to redesign progress notifies and define how we want to test it. So it's not necessarily problem we should solve now. So you can send a PR with the change that you.
Okay, yeah, I'll send that. So the other issue we're discussing is the flakiness around the
Sleep.
this rough say the trigger point. Henry is going to look into. Henry did some change to the Go file, but he doesn't think it's related to this issue. So, do you have any insights on this one?
So this fail point has been introduced pretty recently.
It's not just this fail point, or before save, after save, like anything related to your
before and not sleep. I think it's related to sleep.
Also panic. Also, I've seen.
Oh,
Yeah, so anything related to RAF before, after panic or sleep, they're being very flaky recently, like these cases.
But sleep, I see 3 sleeps.
Yeah, and then panic
One
as
panic,
well.
but this is broken as but this is a broken
This,
assumption. It's something
yeah, the
different.
same, basically the same.
I mean, the error. Sorry, error reported. Maybe we should make it clearer because you copied the last error, but if you look at the top, there will be more errors reported. Broken validation assumption happens if the report that is generated is incorrect, and it's the last place that aborts executing robustness test. But before that, there you need to know why the report is bad, and usually the reason for the report being, or the most I've seen, the main cause is the fail point injection failed. So in the flakiness report, QPS, oh my god, not that one. Oh no. And the main reason, and I copied it, is that apparently for the sleep we have problem with deleting the with removing the sleep fail point, so deactivating the fail point. And it's for sleeps, it's a pretty new introduction that I added, and the goal, the problem that we are trying to solve with sleep fail point was that we needed to activate at some point and then deactivate to restore the proper functioning, because in panic, like, the fail point clears itself up, like, because if etcd panics, the fail points configuration is not persistent, so if you panic etcd, you don't need to clean it up. But for sleep, you need to clean up the etcd after you inject the fail point or enable the fail point. And the problem is that, or for a long time, there was an issue with GoFail library that the activation of the fail point was sharing a lock with the execution of fail point was sharing the lock with configuring the fail point, which meant if you configure a sleep and then find something starts executing the sleep, you cannot deactivate the fail point. That was the original cause for, and that was the problem. And this problem had the same results. It caused a timeout on deactivation because you basically were racing. So there was some work done to remove this, and I think the implementation was correct. We should double check. And there were some even integration tests in flight to ensure that this implementation is like correct. But I know I integrated it. I already integrated this change and introduced the sleep fail points. So possibly there is a edge case or a situation that causes it to timeout. So there are 2 possible solutions. One is to increase that client timeout back to 2 seconds and hope that it fixes it. And maybe it will fix it. It's hard to say. Because, like, you can still, if there is something else, maybe adding more timeout will remove the problem. But if there is a still race between taking a lock by execution and deactivating the fail point, this will be not enough to go out of timeout, and we would need to revisit the library to fix it.
So is that the one Henry was?
I think, Henry implemented it.
Yeah, that's the one I was implementing, or I implemented and it's merged. Yeah, that's the worry that I had. Maybe there's something with the implementation that somehow deadlocked the GoFail library or something.
Yeah, so we don't really know.
But if it deadlocks, then yeah, increasing the timeout will solve it because it's just 1 second. Well, it's not deadlock.
No,
We'll
no.
just
You're racing against to grab the lock, and if there are multiple, and you're racing one deactivation versus multiple executions, and there is no guarantee, there is no queue. Like there is no first come first serve. You random. I don't think pros. I might be wrong, but I don't think locks guarantee you equal access. So there is no queue. Your random process will be woken up waiting for the mutex. So you might be starved. Like still, like 1 second, you could be waiting for 1 second for one coroutine, and then 1 second for the second coroutine would win, the execution coroutine would win, and third one, and you will wait for like as many as there are executions of 1 second or executions of this code in the background. So I think the solution would be to remove or disable the fail point until we fix it. I would be not super happy with that because this fail point was critical to reproducing a watch issue that we had with watch starvation. But if we must, then if it's flaky, then we should like disable the fail point and fix the fail point and track fixing the fail. We should open an issue where we say this fail point is flaky, we need to fix it and disable it in the code.
Yeah, this one is flaky like every day. So
Yeah. So like high level goal should be we should have a nice signal and we should not like
Yeah.
I had
Good. Maybe assign it to me, and I'll check. But yeah.
thank you, Harry.
yeah. I mean, high level, I had ideas of staging robust or changes to robustness test. Like, hey, if you're because it's so hard to find to locally confirm that a new robustness fail point is 100% stable because we run them so much. Like we are talking about, oh, student said, oh, it's flaking every day. What does it mean? It means it fails maybe one or twice every day, and every day we run the test like 600 times or maybe more. I don't know, like hundreds of times. And what does it mean? It has flakiness of like 0.1 or whatever like percent, and that's very low for, let's say it's flaky, but it's usually acceptable level of flakiness. Unfortunately for robustness tests, it's very obscuring if there's even one such test, because one test could be hiding exactly other failures. And if we want to drive idea that we do regression, we based our roadmap or like our work on regression testing, which is, hey, we find a real problem in production, we add a fail point to reproduce it, and now we use this fail point. Like if this test is flaking, which was meant to reproduce some particular case, we no longer have a like stable ability to reproduce the old one. So it's very hard, and I've been thinking, but if someone wants to like look into that idea, it would be nice to have some idea of staging, feature gates for robustness testing. I mean, the same idea of new changes to robustness tests or like new validation or new thing being first considered, not, I know, either maybe marking it as tracking its stability and allowing it to fail, and only if we see it's stable for some time we like make it really stable and like fail on it. But I don't know, what should it be, separate suit, should it be a test that is allowed to fail? I don't know, like that's I'm just trying or I'm saying that this is an issue. I think it's worth to look into that, and if someone has idea or and would want to look into that, that would be fine.
Yeah, maybe it can be a separate like scenarios.
Yeah, could be. That was my, I think, original idea. Yeah, just to make sure we are tracking action items for the issues. I see them really nicely written up. Could we write what is the action for each failure? To make sure that
Yeah, I think there are three major issues. One is the progress notify, which I'll send a PR for it.
Mhm.
And then this flakiness, which is tracked in the issue, and then the linearization timeout is the one PR FICA was working on. I don't think there's anything else other than these three failures recently.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for. I mean, the write up is very like. I think it's very good that we have a list of. I mean, now it's easier to group those failures. I think that the main thing here is like handling the chaos of we see 5 failures this week, this day, 3 failures this day. How do we track which one matches to which? Is like we should like that's a nice way to group them by, and we should think about how we can do that.
Yeah, and speaking of go fail, the integration test wasn't there. I only introduced a very simple one. I was a bit surprised when I modifying it. There's only some very basic unit tests. So yeah, I'll also with this issue, I'll try to add more integration tests and maybe stress tests, see if I can actually catch that lock or something. Because yeah, it's kind of really modifying the library blind. That's why when I was working on GoFail, I have to open the PR on the etcd side to actually try to use etcd to see if I can, if anything weird comes up. But yeah, I'll try to fix that on the GoFail side, improve it on the GoFail side.
Yeah. I mean, don't worry. I think it was me who I adopted your change early, and it was based on my testing, and my testing seemed, I mean, optimistic, looked good. But like I said, it's like one promille or like 0.1% of failure rate. So it's still great that I mean, maybe I don't think we could have predicted this level of failure, and I don't think maybe it's not the original failure that we saw.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. If that would be, I would need to look at the robustness test framework, but I think if your fix or your change didn't do like most of the job, it would be much higher flakiness. It would be full dashboard would be red. I don't think all the sleeps fail.
No.
Yeah, it's like last run, for example, for the robustness AMD is fully green, which is awesome. Yeah. So yeah, this is unfortunate that like we're doing massive testing like this to find those 1 in a million bugs. You need to higher quality that sometimes there are problems that you cannot predict. Like it's not often that you need to build application that not only handles like 2 nines availability, but like 4 or 5 nines. I mean, it's useful and interesting challenge, and I hope like it's a very good way to learn a lot of stuff that can miss. It's also like at some point, like we should be able to disable some things and say that we it's okay to have some failure, right? Like we cannot we cannot fix all the smallest things, but as long as like as long as we can debug it and find it like with some reasonable time, it would be great to bring this test to 100% success. Great. Okay.
Oh, I think we're at time. Thank you everybody for participating. See you next time.
Thanks for hosting. Bye bye.